In this video, I'm going to be looking at ratios and proportion. Now, ratio and proportion is a big topic and it's used a lot in the exams now. So I'm going to do this in 2 videos and this will be the first. Okay, so let's have a look at this. We've got red and blue counters and they're in the ratio of 3:4. Now, when we see a ratio like this, 3:4, this is the way I'd like you to look at it. I want you to look at it as 3 parts and 4 parts. So we have 3 parts red and we have 4 parts blue. Now remember, ratio 3:4 does not mean there's 3 red counters and 4 blue counters. So don't make that mistake. Okay, we're going to say that there's 3 parts red and 4 parts blue. Now we need to know how to turn this ratio into a fraction. Okay, so what fraction of the counters are red? Now we know there's 3 parts are red and we do it over the total number of parts, which is 3 plus 4, which is 7. So what fraction are red? 3/7. So let me ask you now, what fraction of the counters are blue? So you can pause the video and have a think about that. Okay, let's see if you got it right. So, what fraction are blue? We know there's 4 blue counters, so the numerator is going to be 4. And at the bottom, we do total number of parts. And the total number of parts is again 7. So the fraction, which are blue, is 4/7. Now, from this ratio, if the question asked you what's the probability of picking red, you can also use the same answer. The probability of picking red is 3/7. And also the probability of picking blue is 4/7 since the fraction of blue is 4/7. Okay, so let's go and look at some questions on this. So we've got beads in a bag and the ratio of green to blue is 2:5. In part A it says, find the fraction of the bag which is green. Okay, so remember we're going to look at it as parts again. So it says green to blue. So the 2 is going to be for green and the 5 is going to be for blue. So we have 2 parts green and we have 5 parts blue. Now we need to work out what fraction is green. So on the top we have number of parts which are green and that's 2. And the denominator is the total number of parts, which is the 2 plus 5, and that's 7. Part B is more or less the same. It just wants us to work out what fraction is blue. So the number of parts which is blue is at the top, and that's 5. And the denominator is the total number of parts, which is 7. And in part A and B, it says what fraction. It's the same as saying what proportion of the bag. It will be the same exact answer. So don't get confused with proportion and fraction. It means the same thing. Now part C wants us to work out the probability of picking a green bead from the bag. Now we need to just ask ourselves what proportion is green. And we answered that in part A. In part A we worked out 2/7 of the bag is green. So the proportion of green is 2/7. And guess what? The probability is the same answer. It's 2/7. The probability of picking a green is simply 2/7. Okay, another common ratio proportion question is sharing money or sharing anything in fact. And we're going to try one of those type of questions now. Now in this question, Tahmid and Tariq share £120 in the ratio of 1:2. And we need to work out how much more money does Tariq get. Now, the way we're going to do that, of course, is split the money in the ratio of 1:2 to find out how much Tahmid gets and find out how much Tariq gets. Now, if you're confused about which part of the number is for Tahmid and which part is for Tariq, it's the same order that the names were mentioned in the question. Tahmid was mentioned first, so the 1 is for Tahmid. And Tariq was mentioned second, and that 2 is for Tariq. Okay, So we're going to do it in terms of parts. We know that Tahmid gets 1 part and Tariq gets 2 parts. Okay, so to be able to split the £120 in the ratio of 1 to 2, we need to know how many total parts there is. And that's 1 plus 2. So there's 3 parts total. Now, if we divide 120 by 3 parts, we'll work out what 1 part is. And that's going to be the key to answering these type of questions, finding out what 1 part is. So we do 120 divided by 3 parts, and that'll give us 1 part. And that gives us £40. Now what is this £40? £40 is what 1 part is worth. So we know Tahmid gets £40 because he has 1 part in the question. And Tariq gets 2 parts. So you need to multiply this 40 by 2 since the 40 is 1 part. And 2 times 40 gives us 80. And now we can work out how much more Tariq gets. You're just going to do 80 minus 40. So Tariq gets £40 more than Tahmid. Now let's have a look at this question. Charlie and James share some chocolate bars and they share it in the ratio of 5 to 7. We're also told that Charlie gets 8 bars less than James. And we need to work out how much chocolate bars they get each. Okay, so we're going to look at it in terms of parts again. Okay, so James gets 8 chocolate bars more than Charlie. Now think about how many parts more does James get. So he gets 2 parts more because Charlie gets 5 parts and James gets 7 parts. So in terms of parts, he gets 2 parts more. And in terms of chocolate bars, he gets 8 bars more. So that 2 parts more must be equal to 8 chocolate bars. Now I'm going to say that again so you can get used to these type of questions. So we were told that James gets 8 bars more. And when we looked at the parts, we saw that he gets 2 parts more. So the 2 parts must be equal to 8 chocolate bars. And the key thing is to work out what 1 part is worth. And that really helps these questions work. So divide by 2. So 1 part is 4 chocolate bars. Now it's going to be really easy to work out how much they get each. So Charlie gets 5 parts. So you need to do 5 times 4. And 5 times 4 is 20. And James gets 7 parts. So if 1 part is 4, it's going to be 7 times 4, which is 28. Now the next question is probably one of the most trickiest ones. We're told that adults to children in a cinema are in the ratio of 2 to 3. And we're also told that boys and girls in the cinema are in the ratio of 4 to 7. We need to know what fraction of the cinema are girls. For these types, we're going to turn it all into fractions. Okay, so girls, of course, are children. So what fraction are children? So it's this ratio here we're looking at. So that 2 is for adults and the 3 is for children. So what fraction are children? 3 parts are children over the total number of parts, which is 5. So we know 3/5 are children. Now what fraction are girls? And that's this ratio we're looking at. So the 4 is for girls and the 7 is for boys. So what fraction are girls? It's 4 parts over the total number of parts, which is 11. Okay, now we're talking about the whole cinema. So 3/5 are children, and of those children, 4/11 are girls. So what you're going to do is times here. So times the 2 fractions together, and you get 12 over 55. Now a lot of people would have given the answer as 4/11 because that's what fraction are girls. But this 4/11 is only talking about the children. But the question asks about the whole cinema. And that's why we had to look at what proportion are children and what proportion are girls. And then we just simply multiplied them. And there we have it.
I hope you found that video useful. Support us by liking, subscribing, and share this with your friends. And if you still got some more questions on anything, drop a post on our forum at examqa.com where you'll find your questions answered.